What's good, Wizards fans? It's your host, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott. Today, we're going to talk about Deni Avdija getting a contract extension and the Washington Wizards also making some roster cuts. We are live. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
So thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. It's your host, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott. We are live on YouTube right now. The Wizards made a lot of moves over the past 24 to 48 hours, including the Deni Avdija contract extension for 4 years, $55 million. We're going to get into the contract details. The details were just released not too long ago. We're going to talk about the money for each year. But Brandon, what was your initial reaction when you got the news last night that Deni Avdija got a contract extension?
I'm gonna say I was a little surprised because with this being a new front office, I thought they were going to let the year play out, kind of evaluate what he can do this year. And he still had his rights at the end of the year. He's still restricted free agent, so they can match any offer he would have got anyway. So a little surprised, but looking at the trend, right? Looking at the contract for Kyle Kuzma, it's not a bad contract that can be moved if need be. And the same thing with Deni. If you look at his contract, looking at the specifics real quick, his first year is $15 million, and it's front loaded, so it goes down each year. So it goes from 15 to 14 to 13 to 11. So that makes it a very, very tradable contract. So I mean, if you look at the fact that it's year one of a rebuild, they kind of fit the mold of what they're trying to do in DC, find more defensive-minded players. They seem to be a big fan of him. They Will Dawkins spoke very highly of him, and he's 22 years old. We all know what he can and can't do. We said it time and time again. Defense is not an issue with him. He is very above average defender, if not elite to a certain degree. His offensive game needs to come along. And, look, last game to blowout versus the Toronto Raptors, he led all scorers. 3-point shot looked decent. I mean, he really, his release is a little quicker, a little confident with his shot. So who knows? This could be a breakout year for Deni. So I get why they did it. I just a little surprised because I thought that, they were going to evaluate him, see how the year plays out, and go from there. But it's not a bad contract. I mean, it really isn't. Because I thought that at one point last year they were talking about 15 to 20. So I mean, it's not a bad contract, man. So like I said, if they decide to move on from him, they can. But at 22 years old, if they can mold it, because they got new coaches here, man. So if they can mold him, definitely further develop him, see what they can do as far as on the offensive side of the ball with him, and try to really create him into that 3-and-D guy, it really could be a really, really cheap contract in the long run. So like I said, again, very surprised, but I get it. At 22 years old, it's not a bad deal, especially for a rebuilding team. So I'm actually in favor of it.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I'm not gonna lie to you at all. Especially just seeing, we've seen the past regime with Tommy Shepard, we've seen him with Ernie Grunfeld. We just don't see Wizards get second contracts. So It was a huge surprise for me. I thought they were gonna let it play out and want to see more and have him prove it more and just show a little bit more consistency. I think he's had, a solid career. He's shown glimpses at times. He looks like Turbo, and there's times where he can be inconsistent shooting the ball. We still want to see him, dribble with both hands and finish around the rim better. But we know he's a darn good defender. I think he's done everything that they asked him to do in the offseason. And especially since this is a group or a new regime that did not draft him.
Yeah.
But 4 years, $55 million. I think it's a solid deal. I think it's a fair deal for him. I don't think it's an overpay. I did think that, maybe he wanted to get his value up and kind of test free agency just a little bit, just to see if he could get more than just $13 million, because $13 million per year is not much more than the mid-level exception, because the mid-level exception this year is $12 million and $12,405,000 that he's getting about 13 per year. But they're front-loading the contract, and he can be a tradable asset maybe a year or two down the line. But yeah, I really thought they were going to kind of, make him prove it and see, And, if it was the previous regime, but it is a new regime now, I just got to get used to them re-signing their guys. So maybe Corey Kispert is next in line to get a second contract too. But if it was the Wizards of old that we've seen year after year, then he probably would have been traded just like Rui, Troy Brown, or Kelly Oubre. So I was surprised. But he's a solid player. And I think the money that he got is more of a rotational sixth man, seventh man, or eighth man in the rotation, or a role player kind of starter. You look at Grant Williams, his contract. He got a similar contract, or Jared Vanderbilt. He got a 4-year, $48 million contract. Grant Williams got a 4-year, $53 million contract. So Deni actually got paid more than Grant Williams, who is more of a rotational player who's, contributed in playoff wins and can knock down the three. So Deni's in that similar range, but I will say that, Deni did everything that this front office asked him to do. He didn't play on FIBA. He trained with them this offseason. So he did all the things that they asked him to do. He just has to step up and prove it. He had a good preseason game, and then the preseason game, the first one, you see some of the body language there when, Jordan Poole is hot, he wants to get the ball. But the three-point shot looked good. Can he continue this and, make the front office look good by, signing him already? So those are the things I'm looking for. But I think it's a fair deal. I think it's a fair deal. They wanted to get the contract done. They didn't want any controversy or anything like that. But I really thought they were going to really make him earn it and try to make him prove it. That's what I really thought was going to happen.
Yes, I was same here, man. I thought that they were definitely going to evaluate him and see what they got in him because, again, they didn't draft him. But, I mean, it's not a bad contract. But here's the thing. Look, he's got to show up now. Look, there's no more excuses. You got your bag. There are expectations for you now. He cannot, one game be turbo and the next game be a V4. You can't be a Mini Cooper, man. You got to be turbo, man. So, I want to see a lot more consistency, from him, especially from the offensive end. You got your bag. So I definitely want to see some progress on the offensive end because it's one thing to, play for a bag. He got paid. But I think if you look at the contract, man, the organization had all the leverage because how much could he really have gotten on the open market? I think that you pretty much got market value for him. So I think that it was a good move on the part of the front office because he's young. You got to form a foundation, man. You got to form a young foundation for a rebuilding team. So, like you said, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with Kispert. Johnny Davis at this point, I don't know. So, but Kispert, he's next man up. So, do they view him as a player for the future, or is he a draft or trade asset? So, yeah, I mean, in the long run, I think it's going to be a good move on the part of this front office, man, because I think he will improve. He's a young guy who showed that he has work ethic, that he wants to improve his game. It's just the biggest thing with him is confidence and consistency. He's got to be consistent, man. Like you said, he cannot be turbo and then not turbo. He's got to, that's what defines the average player from your all-stars is that you got to have consistency. You got year in and year out, every game, man, you have to be consistent and put in that work, man. So, at this point, that's what I'm kind of expecting from Deni is I want to see him take that step because you got your money, you got to take that step. So again, there should be no obstacles for him having that breakout year. So.
Yeah, definitely play smart, not putting his head down, less complaining to the refs.
Yeah.
Dribbling both hands, finishing around the rim. But Will Dawkins had good things to say about Deni in the extension. So Will Dawkins went on to say, quote, Deni has many of the characteristics that we value in the players who represent our organization. He has a team-first mentality, works hard on his craft, competes with toughness, and is committed to improving the community. Will Dawkins also said that hard work has resulted in the year-to-year development of his overall game, and we're excited to have him continue that progress as a Wizard. So, yeah, I think he's a hard worker. We see him stay in the gym all the time, even after games. If he has a bad game, he's always getting up shots. We see him on Instagram, different social media, stuff like that. I don't want to get into social media working out too much, but he's a hard worker. He's a guy that works his butt off. He plays defense. He's one of the guys. He plays really hard on defense. He's a darn good defender. There's a lot of positives in his game, but he definitely has a lot of things to work on in his game too. And I think this contract will make things easier for him where he's not on edge where, if other guys are getting shots like Jordan Poole is getting a lot of shots, he doesn't have to worry about that, him trying to get his, improve, and try to go out there and score 20 points when that's not really that's really not his game is going out there and scoring 20, 25. His game is more of defending, being a connector, getting guys open, giving you 12, but maybe getting you 7 boards. He's a darn good rebounder. Good defender, he doesn't have to, try to force stuff and like he's playing for a contract where we've seen a lot of guys in the past for the Wizards where they're trying to chase a bag and they're just putting up a bunch of shots. Yeah. He can play his game, carefree, stress-free. I think that's something good that they did do. I'll give the front office some credit for that to make him more settled and uneasy.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree on all points, man. I think in the long run is definitely going to be a good deal for this team because he's 22 years old, man. And you're already on the defensive end. You already see that elite D. It's just, getting that offensive side to come through and come to fruition, man. So, yeah, if he can have that breakout, then you could be looking at a pretty good contract in the long run. So, no, I think it's a good move, man. I'm behind it.
Yeah, 13. I think it's a fair deal. So, all right, we're gonna move on to some roster moves that the Wizards made. They had to cut down the roster to 15. But before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And for FanDuel, it's very easy to use. So some picks that I'm going to make, I think they already put out some stuff and some lines for the Wizards already. I'm going to pull that up real quick. But I can automatically say for the Commanders, if you do bet on the Commanders or against them, always pick the opposing tight end. I picked Darren Waller to get over 36.5 receiving yards. Guess what? Darren Waller got 90 receiving yards on the Commanders yesterday, unfortunately, with the Giants. So I'm going to pull up the Wizards. The Wizards, for me personally, I would pick whatever big man we're playing against. I would pick him to get at least 10 boards. I know we're playing against Miles Turner, who sometimes he doesn't rebound like he should. So his over-under is 7.5. But I would look at Tyrese Halliburton, and let me see his assists. Where is his assists at? Tyrese Halliburton's assists are at 8.5. I would certainly take the over on 8.5. Yeah, because he can get 10 assists. I hate to bet against my Wizards, but I'm just being realistic. I would take the boards on Miles Turner, but he doesn't rebound the ball at all. And then Jordan Poole, let's look at his points. He's at 24.5. That's a little high for me. I know he can do it, but they don't even have Kyle Kuzma on here. I don't know if they know something. I don't know if they think Kyle Kuzma is not going to play. But that's interesting there. So those are some of the props that I would look at. But the Commanders, we play the Eagles. So you might want to look at A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert to get their over on receiving yards. All right, but let's get back into the moves here. So this was announced today that the Washington Wizards released Taj Gibson and waived Taj Gibson and they waived Xavier Cooks to cut down the roster. Anthony Gill was one of the guys that I thought would be on the cusp, but I'll let you react to it. What were your thoughts on the cuts that you made? Who was a guy that you thought that did not get cut that you thought was going to get cut?
I thought it was going to be Gill, man. I thought it was going to be Gill and Cooks as the two guys to go because they put so much emphasis in Taj Gibson being that leader in the locker room. Well, I guess it was just a leader for training camp because that's probably the easiest $3 million I've ever seen somebody make. So it's surprising that they waived Taj. But, I mean, looking at the center position, I mean, not that we really expected Taj Gibson to play any significant minutes. Again, he was brought in to be that leader in the locker room, but still, man, if you look at the game against the Knicks, he was still hitting them. So, I mean, he still can go out there and put some minutes in if you need be. So, without him, and I know we made another transaction for a center by signing John Butler Jr. to a two-way, man, but still, I mean, this center rotation, man, concerns me. I'm concerned, man. I mean, I really am because Gafford long-term ain't it. Muscala, he can shoot. I get it. He can. I mean, I believe we against Knicks 5 for 7 3, but rebounding, man, we are looking bad in the paint right now. I mean, the rebounding is looking bad, and we can't defend the paint. So it's surprising to see Taj go because I thought it was gonna be Anthony Gill and Xavier Cooks. Xavier Cooks it's just gonna go down as another Tommy move where it's like, really, dude. Like he signed a guy that didn't play 1 minute in the NBA to a multi-year contract. Them waiving him just proved that it was such a mind-numbing move by Tommy Shepard. But yeah, I thought that Anthony Gill was going to be on there. But I get it. If you look at him the last couple of years, he's that guy who, again, is a hustle guy, and you need at least one good hustle guy on your team. So Anthony Gill, I'm not too mad that he's on the squad. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I thought Anthony Gill was going to be the guy that was going to be released because they literally just signed Todd Gibson, and I got to look at the contract details. I don't know if they paid him yet or not, but he was barely there. We signed him in August, and we cut him down in October. So I just didn't see the point of signing him if you're going to release him. That just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But Xavier Cooks, he was a Tommy Shepard signing. He gave Cooks that 4-year, $6 million deal. So if Tommy was still here, Xavier Cooks would have been here. And Xavier Cooks, honestly, we saw him play in person against the Rockets. He really struggled that game. He couldn't catch the ball. He could barely make layups or floaters. And honestly, kind of watching the Taipei and Kyrens, and he was the MVP of that league. There were just times where he just didn't look like an NBA caliber player at times. And you look at that team, and we blew them out by 40 or 50 points. And we're going to be, one of the bottom teams in the league, and we blew that team out pretty easily. So that kind of tells you about the league a little bit. Nothing against the league. I think it's a competitive league, of course. It's very talented players, but it was just kind of telling. So Xavier Cooks, I just didn't think there was a spot for him on the team. Maybe later down the line, if some injuries happen, knock on wood, they may bring him back, or another team may bring him in to be an energy guy because he's an old school big. He's undersized. He's really 6'8". He's really not that tall, and he's really more of a 5, more of a center.
Yeah,
doesn't stretch the floor. Doesn't have a free throw jumper or a 10-foot jumper. Not many post moves. And he's athletic, but he's not like springy to play above the rim all the time.
Yeah,
and he just doesn't stretch the floor. So he's just an old school big, an old school undersized big. And then Taj, he was our Udonis Haslem, but we're not as good as the Heat, nearly as good as the Heat, or have been as successful as the Miami Heat. So, yeah, I agree with the move with releasing him. And then Anthony Gill, there was a lot of rumors or reports that he was going to sign overseas. I thought he was going to do that, but Wes Unseld Jr. really, really likes Anthony Gill. He loves Anthony Gill. Anthony Gill's a good locker room guy. Taj is too. But, I don't mind Gill being on the roster. Maybe they could have – I got to see if they're going to keep some of the young guys too, because I know somebody posted the unofficial roster coming up. Like Rollins should definitely be on the roster. Pat Baldwin Jr. should be a guy that should be bouncing from the G League to the regular team. John Butler Jr., who we just signed, who is a lean big who went to Florida State, can shoot the three. He's definitely be a 2-way guy. So I'm not surprised. I'm a little surprised that Taj got released. But then again, I'm not. And Anthony Gill is a guy that Wes Unseld Jr. certainly loves. And Anthony Gill, he might mess around and get some legitimate playing time because Wes Unseld Jr. likes him that much.
Yeah, I agree on all points, man. I think that it's not surprising with Gill, but I mean Taj, man, like you said, I don't know what the specifics are, but if he got paid $3 million for training camp, man, I mean, look, sign me up. Look, I just fill water, man. You ain't got to give me no uniform. I can get dressed in the car. I'm just saying, but that's the easiest $3 million I've ever seen anybody make. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the final rotation is going to be, man. Because like I said, I thought that Taj was a guy that is going to be retained because just his leadership. I mean, he's been around a minute, man, and he's definitely a guy that you want not only in your locker room but working with your bigs, man. So it's surprising, but Gil, like you said, Gil is a favorite of West. So am I surprised? Not really, because like you said, he always has a thing for Gil. To the point where, I mean, he's pushed people out of the lineup to put Gil in there. So, it's going to be interesting, but I'm not too surprised, man. But again, I am very, very concerned about the center position, man. I just don't see a lot of depth, man. And, this preseason showed that rebounding, we look bad. I mean, we got guards in there getting rebounds. I mean, Terry Rozier went in there looking like a big, man. I mean, so it's a concern. And I get it, we are unofficially tanking. I mean, it's not officially, but we're trying to be bad to get a top 5 pick. But I guess the competitive part of me is like, man, we need to go in there and get another center. But, we'll see.
Right. I'm looking at the roster too. Rollins did make the roster. And we have 3 2-way guys. Somebody asked a question about that. Red Wings. We'll get to that next. But before we do, we got a quick word from Brandon.
Absolutely. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. And I'm a big guy that goes to a lot of games, man. It's my time away to be myself pretty much. So I've gone through them all, man. SeatGeek, all of them. But the best one to me is Gametime, because you shouldn't have to worry about buying your tickets before your next event. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all sporting events and music, comedy shows, theater events, all near you with killer last minute deals all-in prices, views from your seat, which is very important to me, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. See the view from your seat before you buy it, because again, that is key. So you know exactly what you expect when you arrive and what your view is. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know what you're getting, and a great deal without all those hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The Locked On Ultimate NBA season preview is here, a 6-episode series with all 30 of our Locked On NBA team shows. From contenders to tankers, we go in depth into the biggest storylines heading into the season. Catch all 6 episodes on Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. So definitely, we are definitely going to be on there. So definitely rock with your boys and support Locked On Wizards.
Yes, sir. We're going to get into comments. We're not going to talk about the jerseys tonight. We're probably going to talk about the jerseys tomorrow. The season's almost here, man. This is crazy.
Yes,
it
sir.
really is. It's exciting, man. We waited. It's been a long off season, a lot of trades, a lot of moves, a new front office. We've seen guys that have been here for a long time get traded.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy off season. It's about time to see some actual games now. So, but we're gonna get to some of these comments here. And Brent, did you read the details of Deni's contract? I think you did.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it goes 15, 14, then it goes to 13, then it goes to 11 million. And he'll be a free agent in 2028. So he's 20. How old is he now? 22. Yeah, he's 22 right now. So when the contract's over, he'll be 26. So he's still gonna be pretty young. Kyle Kuzma got a similar deal.
Yeah.
Back in the day, 13 million. So this is I think it's a solid deal money wise, but we're gonna get to what some of the subscribers think about a Lamar Odom starting off tonight. He says Deni most improved.
I agree, but I don't. Usually that goes to guys on playoff teams, contending teams. So I think that us being a tanking team unofficially is going to be a hit. But I agree. If with him potentially having a breakout year, he could definitely be up for the most improved player in my opinion. But he's got to show some significant progress on the offensive end. Defensively, the league don't know what he can do defensively. Giannis knows, but offensively, he's got to take that step. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see that, man. I would love to see him in the running for that.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, he did. It's a preseason game. He did look good against the Raptors.
Yeah,
we did get blown out of that game. Shut the ball well. I thought he finished around rim, had a couple floaters, knocked down a couple threes as well. Looked very confident. So if he can continue that and keep that up going into the season, then he can be in the running for it. It's a hard award to get. Jordan Poole, he's in the running for it too. His name is on the list. I know there's something on FanDuel as well where they got some guys who you can wager on to get that award. So it's gonna be tough. There's always somebody who comes out of nowhere too that gets that award. So I think he'll definitely be in the running. I think he can definitely get votes for it. Do I think he'll win it? I think it's going to be a tough, long shot for him to do it, but I think he can certainly be in the running for it. And them giving him the contract definitely can give him more motivation and some more confidence to build off of it as well. Seth Noah, said, let's go. Andy Man says, what's Goodman? Jag says, W moves. Griffin Peters says, L. Not sure what he's saying, L2. But Andy Man says, who do y'all see still being here in 3 years when this rebuild is all said and done?
Oh, that's a good one, man. I say Poole's gonna be here. I think Deni will be here. I think Bilal will be here. I don't think Kisper's gonna be here. I think he's gonna be traded, in my opinion. I think I think Deni getting his extension. I think Kisper is definitely a trade asset, in my opinion, going forward. And Johnny, I mean, who knows, man? I mean, we got to see a lot from Johnny D. I mean, no disrespect. It's just, but yeah, I think those guys will be the core because I think by that point in 3 years, we have already traded Kyle Kuzma for, whether it's draft capital or player in return. So that's who I think is going to be here in 3 years.
Yeah, this is a good question too. I think in 3 years, Bilal certainly will be here for sure.
Yeah.
Corey might be here because I think these guys. I think Will Dawkins is a guy that likes to re-sign guys. He likes to bring back. He likes to reward guys that play hard. Him bringing back Kuzma, now bringing back Deni. So I think we're going to see more rookies be extended, where it's not going to be like a blue moon to see a rookie extended. I was just shocked to see Deni get another contract because we haven't seen rookies get second contracts. I was really surprised to see that whenever it came out. But Corey is hard to say. Gafford, not too sure. Jordan Poole, I could see it, but after seeing that Raptors game where he had a stinker, where it's like, you're going to see some nuclear games where he goes off for 41. The 41-point game was awesome to watch. I wasn't able to be on here with Brandon. Brandon held it down. He did a heck of a job, hosting. And Jordan Poole had a heck of a game that night. I mean, he was unconscious. I mean, he got to the free throw line a bunch. He pulled up and hit a three from almost the logo. I mean, he really took it. 29 points and a half is insane. And I think he sat down really for the most part in the fourth quarter because we were winning by so much. And it's preseason. I didn't even really want him to play that second half. I was like, kind of like, football, like the starters only play one half.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, after he put up 29, I was like, yeah, I think they should just let him sit, to be honest. But he played a little bit more and put up 41. Probably could have put up 50 if we would have played more. I got to look at this. I got to look at his minutes number. But Jordan Poole could potentially still be here. But, if he shows inconsistency like that, where he puts a 41, the next game he's going 1 for 15, which potentially could happen, that I don't know. But, yeah, it's the only person I can really confidently say right now is Bilal.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Bilal is definitely the guy who's going to be here more than 3 years. I mean, Gaff, to me, I think the money's just right on his contract that if we want to make a move for a disgruntled star or, I think that he's a contract filler on the trade, man, because he's limited, man. He just doesn't fit the current mold of the NBA center. And, we're looking through the preseason and he's been struggling. I mean, because I believe this is the year his extension kicked in. I mean, he's been looking bad, man. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then Tyus, I don't think he's going to be here in 3 years. DeLon, I would bet he gets traded. Shamet, Gallo, Muscala, all those guys are going to be gone. They're going to be traded. Rollins, Pat Baldwin, who knows? Johnny Davis, who knows? They're just all toss-up guys that we just I don't have an idea on. I wouldn't even bet or say on those guys, but I know for a fact Muscala and Gallo and Shamet and all those guys are not going to be here. Excuse me. Let's go to No Breaks New. Shout out to No Breaks New. That's my guy. That's our guy. He says odd men out are 3 two-ways, and 2 guys have to go to IR. Who? Rollins or Baldwin? Gil, I want Gino in the rotation.
Yeah.
And maybe Rollins in a rotation. I like what PB&J can be, but he hasn't shown it. Brandon, I'll let you go first.
I agree, man. Rollins needs to get some minutes. I mean, obviously not extensive minutes right now before the deadline, but I like Rollins. I think he's the backup point guard of the future for this team, man. Gino, woo, Amaruti, man. Yeah, he's a dog, man. He is a dog. I mean, you got to keep him around. I mean, he's a dog. You need one Gino on your team. Every team needs a Gino, man, because he's just that guy who gives that effort, man. We've been talking about dogs in DC for a couple of years. Look, I'm rocking with Gino, man. So yeah, Rollins, Baldwin, I'm intrigued to see what he can do after the deadline. He's got the intangibles, man. It's just being, getting consistent minutes and find consistent play out of him. But with that shot, it's just with Patrick Baldwin Jr., man, he's got to find other ways to contribute. When that shot's not dropping, he's got to, rebound. He's got to add other elements to his game so that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, so Gino's Eugene. I didn't know that. I was like, who's Gino? But okay, Eugene. Yeah, Eugene's a two-way guy. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He plays hard. He plays really physical. We don't have a lot of guys that play with physicality on the roster right now. Baldwin didn't. Yeah, he has not looked great. He had one good game in the summer league, and then he had a couple stinkers in there too, where he went 1 for 9 or something like that. And he kind of, if he's not knocking down the three, then he's not really doing much else. And for him to be 6'10", it's like, I want you to rebound more. I think you can defend a little bit better and do other things. But other than shooting, he doesn't. If he's not shooting the three and knocking it down, then he's not really giving you much. Where Rollins looks like he can defend, he can pick up full court, he can get some steals, deflections. Looks like he's shooting the ball pretty well offensively. He's getting to the basket. He's getting to the rim. He's playing above the rim. He's moving well without the basketball. He dunked on somebody as well in that Knicks game or the Hornets game. Can't remember which one. But, yeah, he looks athletic. He's playing above the rim. And he looks like, yeah, he can kind of get the Jordan Goodwin playing time where he's a guy that just plays tough, blue-collar guy, hard-nosed guy, look like he's just playing 110% with effort at all times. So I like what I've seen from Rollins, and maybe he can get, he made the roster. He's not on a two-way deal. He's the guy that's legitimately on the roster. So I do want to see him get playing time. I do want to see him in the rotation. With Johnny Davis being injured, if he's not ready to play week day one, and Wes Unseld Jr., he was quoted to say that he wants a 9-man rotation. So that doesn't give a lot of room for Baldwin or Rollins at all to get playing time. So that's interesting for Wes to say that. We'll see how that goes. But I think Rollins should definitely get some real playing time.
Yeah, definitely after the deadline. I think that you're going to, we always say before the deadline, after the deadline kind of deal. You know, I think he's definitely going to get minutes after the deadline. So, yeah. I'm a big fan of Rollins because, man, his shot, his drive, yeah, you want players like that on your roster.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when Shamet comes back, I think West is going to play Shamet because he likes playing veterans. He's going to play Shamet. Johnny Davis has to get playing time. So there's a lot of guys. Devon Wright's got to get playing time. Ty's got to get playing time. Corey's going to be playing the two. He's going to be playing shooting guard behind Jordan Poole off the bench. So, yeah, it is going to be tough for Ryan Rollins to get playing time. But I think he should get at least 10 minutes in there, get his feet wet. Let's see here. John Baber says sounds like a good deal. And Matt says, I think they were too quick to pull the trigger. Feels like another Wes Unseld Jr. situation to me. I think he's talking about Deni.
I can see that. I can see why you would say that. But like I said, looking at the market, I see both sides as far as this deal. I mean, I honestly thought they were going to wait it out and really see what his value is after a breakout. But look, here's the thing, though. They must really believe he's going to break out, because if he breaks out, his looking at how the cap keeps rising, he could have demanded more. So it's, they had all the leverage. And I think this is a really smart deal because, they got him at a really good market price. And if he has that breakout, then you could really got him at a bargain. So,
Yeah, I thought they were going to want him to prove more and just show more consistency, especially since they didn't draft him. So I was surprised that they did give him the deal. But if he gets better, then they're going to get him for a bargain for $13 million because, like you said, the cap's going to go up, the mid-level exception is going to go up. So a year or two from now, they're basically going to be paying a mid-level exception money because right now it's at $12 million. It's going to go up to 13 probably next year, and the year after maybe potentially go up to 13 and a half, 14. So I think it's a good deal money-wise. But, I do want to see how they implement him. Is this going to be another year where he starts and then West benches him for Anthony Gill, or he benches him and for they because they put Gafford in the rotation, they put him in the starting five and then bench Deni, and then there were times where Anthony Gill was starting. So is it going to be one of those years for Deni? We'll see. But if he plays well, then it's a win. So it's kind of a win-win in a sense. You look later down the line, you can trade him. The money gets cheaper as it goes.
Yeah,
he's a tradable asset. He's a good defender. So other teams may be looking for his services. So I can see it. I definitely was surprised by the move, though. I will say that.
You think his body language bad now? Let him get benched after getting the bag for Anthony Gill.
Right. And then the whole bench thing, because I haven't been on to talk about that too. When him and Jordan Poole kind of going back and forth, a lot of people reacted. They thought it was kind of like a fight or whatever, kind of like when Deni and Bertans went at it a couple years ago. I don't think it was. I think they were laughing. And then after the Knicks game or the other game, they were laughing and shaking hands and stuff like that. So, they're getting along well.
Yeah.
Alan Rascon says Deni has some confidence issues. Contract extension lets him focus purely on hooping. And if he plays better, it's a good deal. If not, we move him.
Yep. Couldn't say it better myself. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Confidence is the major key for him. And you can say that for everybody, but it certainly is. Body language is a major key for him. And confidence is. And then, especially as the things going on in his home country, he can just focus on basketball. And I think it just gives him more confidence. So it's a good move. Mark Reviews, we'll probably say react to one more and then wrap it up. Mark Reviews 2.0 says Deni will get better throughout his contract. I think this was a great move. Plus, it shows Deni the front office behind him. That can be great motivation. And then the next one, Red Wings 01 said, I guess I'm not as worried about the center position. Since I'm more concerned about next year, we can trade Gafford, Gallo, and Muscala, bring in Yannick Zosa. Vucevic can either sign or draft a new guy. But we'll probably read some more comments tomorrow. We're going to wrap it up tonight and preview. Yeah, Yannick Zosa, I know. We're probably never going to see him play. That was a Tommy Shepard pick, a draft and stash guy who was just never going to play in the NBA, most likely. So another Isu saying on. But we're going to wrap it up tonight. We just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you guys get podcasts. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a preview of the season. We're probably going to do over-unders, bowl predictions, stat predictions, all kinds of stuff. And then giving our keys to victory against the Indiana Pacers. We want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys hit the notification bell and subscribe. And make sure you guys lock in. Hell to the Wizards. Peace.